stage concept, aka sketch character icon.
Hi, I'm Hi. Today, we're drawing hihi-ZIRAIKA, fan art of Zira and Aika from Pretty Please, I Don't Want to Be a Magical Girl. Specifically, the girls are wearing their magical girl outfits. Of course, if you've seen the show so far, you'd know Zira isn't magical. But the show's creator, Smith, did post what magical girl Zira would look like, fitting this designing universe as art the girl drew herself. It was even given a more hand-drawn feel, with visible penciling and colors going over the lines or missing in small areas. Intentional mistakes to sell the art's in universe quality. Now, this fan art is oriented like a playing card, with one character right side up and the other upside down depending on how you view it. This orientation is inspired by the movie poster for Revolutionary Girl Utena. Honestly, never watched it, but know it's very gay and anime, so it seemed appropriate.
rất là mệt
Next character, Zira.
Continuing on to Zira's sketch, here's a mini review of Pretty Please rest of title. Prior to insert title, I already followed Smith for her Pokémon fan comics and art of this 2B series. So I was excited when the pilot was announced. When it came out, I still enjoyed the premise and characters. But I also found the adult humor forced and brushed it off as an ill-fitting addition. Perhaps made so that the show can avoid the overbearing censorship that comes with children's media. An understandable concern considering its common removal of LGBT rep. However, by the second episode, I finally understood that adult humor as satire, pushing relatable scenarios to absurd degrees. My favorite bits are the library begging people to read and, from the pilot, teens being oddly aware of and concerned about the grade point average. Those to show how important setting and understanding a show's tone is to enjoying it. When drawing these characters, I realized I didn't really want to draw a few details of their outfits. You see, Aika and Zira's magical outfits were a bit over-designed, likely to emulate magical girl designs and convey Aika's discomfort in the role. Aika, for example, normally has about 8 braids, 5 small ribbons, 4 long white wings, 2 blue wings, and other flourishes that I didn't want to deal with. My art is based on the more simplistic 2000s cartoon style. After all, the philosophy in my reduction came from 2 questions. What details do I remember this design having? And do I have the screen real estate? For respective examples, Aika's staff is missing its wings and her head charm thing has 2 less pearls. The latter still covers the same amount of space as it does on her official design. However, because my style uses thicker lines, simplification was required.
First stage, dash, aka Lineart.
There were 2 issues I found while handling this art's coloring. The first was the lower saturation of the official colors. My coloring is always high saturated. This is a simple fix with the brighter colors, just increase saturation all the way. But that method would only make their brown skin tones become a dull orange. Still, with the overall saturation of the palette increased, their skin needed some balancing to not look washed out. Second was their hair. I needed to find a color darker than Zira's skin, as per her design, with a hue that fits in with her purple and Aika's blue. Now, officially, their hair is the same black as their line art. My art style doesn't do that, however, but not for a lack of trying. What I found was if I don't draw these parts at the same time as the line art, as you would for a comic book, those areas will look bigger than intended. Personally, I'll just keep drawing as what comes naturally.
First stage, concept, aka sketch. Next character, icon.
I'll save the shading talk to Zira's part. Let's talk about insert long title here and its character designs. One common note about Aika and Zira's initial designs was that, despite being in high school, they both looked like younger children. Especially Aika, whose head was sometimes as tall as her torso and upper legs. This makes a little more sense with older concept art, where Aika's age wasn't fully determined yet, and she could have been as young as 13. I don't know if the designs were meant to be chibi, if they were originally meant to be children before the more adult humor was decided on, or hell, if the childish proportions were just not considered. But for episode 2, Consmith redesigned Aika and Zira with smaller heads and longer proportions, more appropriate for their respective ages. I wonder if these redesigns would be added to the announced fully animated pilot episode. Just gotta wait, I guess.
Products.Wagonos.
Zira.
Between the two, Aika's shading was definitely easier for me. This is mainly due to the heavy use of yellow in her design. Like Hihi-Pika Girl, warmer colors allow for a wider spectrum to use for shading, like yellows, oranges, reds, and pinks. It's just easier to make appealing color palettes when you're using those fit for a sunset. Though perhaps I'd be better with cold colors if I had more experience with them. That said, Hihi-K had a mainly cold palette, and that came out well, I think. One aspect that I thought would be tricky was the lighting direction. If the art is supposed to work both right side up and upside down, then what direction should the light be coming from? Looking at the Utina poster, this is inspired by, light kind of just comes from all directions. So I pretty much did the same. Reminds me of 3D Guilty Gear, where they gave each character their own custom lighting, depending on what looked the best to the camera.
Nine.